Hello, everybody, and welcome to Play Some Video Games, the only gaming podcast, I assure you, that spends way too much time debating Taylor Swift versus Michelle Branch. It is I, your host, Kevin. With us this week, we have Nathan. How are we doing, Nathan?
I am here, and I am representing the great state of Georgia tonight because I'm in Atlanta.
Ooh,
but
taking over Donnie's turf.
Yeah, so here's the thing. You'll notice later on, ladies and gentlemen, that Donnie's not in the episode, and that I am in Georgia. And that is not a coincidence. But we won't talk about that anymore. So continue on, Kevin.
There we go. And we also have with us this week Kyle. Kyle, how are we doing?
There's no debate. Clearly the right answer is Michelle Branch. I don't know what the debate, quote-unquote, debate is about.
Oh, I think our fourth person here on the podcast might have something to say about that. And that is making his second appearance. Josh, how are we doing, Josh?
Doing great. I'm here on the side of relevancy, so Taylor Swift.
You sit your wrongness and be wrong. It's fine.
Coach Mo's not here to back you up, Kyle. So
hold on, Taylor Swift.
Yeah, you missed that in the group chat yesterday, Nathan. I think it was yesterday. What was it today? I don't even know.
Josh. Yeah, I know you're new around here, and and I know that you have your opinions and you have your right to express them. However, when Kyle evokes the Branch, there is no such thing as the Swift.
Well, if I got to pick, really, it's Kelly Clarkson. No offense to either of them.
I could stand like Kelly Clarkson. It's not bad, but it's still the Branch.
Well, this is a video game podcast, right?
Yeah, it is. It is, in fact. So right now, Seth is yelling at his cell phone, I guess, whatever he listens to a podcast on.
No, I have it
Taylor
on good
Swift.
Authority. He uses a Zune.
Okay,
Hey,
so Seth is
Zune.
yelling at his Zune right now. Do you really?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I do. Man. Zune HD. Full.
I still have my Zune.
It still works.
Wow.
I had two Zunes. I had the first one they released because I'm a Microsoft guy. What can I say? And then I had the one that they released later on that had a radio built into it and a bigger screen. It was like amazing. And then I never used it after like a year.
This is a video game podcast, right?
Well, it is. It is. On the subject of podcasts, though, remember Zune had its own podcast network too. So
yeah, and there was nothing on it.
There was nothing on it. You are 100% right.
It had FM
but
radio
anyway,
also.
That's true. That's true. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, telling a friend, and welcome to all of our new listeners. We've noticed a huge influx of new followers.
Who
so
told
thank you
their
all for...
friend?
I'm assuming somebody did with all the new listeners we have.
Why?
I don't know. Maybe they don't like them very much. Who knows? It's a
sabotage.
prank.
I got it.
Yeah, they tricked them into listening.
Like, hey, go check out these guys for a couple hours and see if your life gets any better.
Hey, these guys can talk 2 hours about a 3-minute Nintendo trailer. You should check it out. But anyway, so let's talk a little bit about what we've been playing, what we've been up to since the last time we all convened. Nathan, let's start with you first, sir.
Gentlemen, we all know I've been playing Forza Horizon 3 because that's what I seem to play a lot of these days. Great game. I finally got to... there was a thing where you unlock all the festivals and you can fully upgrade them all. And I finally completed that portion of the game. So now I don't have to worry about my fans anymore. It's just continuing to level up in the game now. So I guess you could say I'm in the end-game content on Forza Horizon 3. But, Forza never really ends. You can just keep on playing it till the cows come home. That's not a thing in Australia, is it? Cows coming home? That's more of an American thing. I don't know. Until the koala bears stop. You're in Australia. Come on! Have you not been listening to us? We've been telling you play in Australia in Forza Horizon 3.
Well, Nathan, they are adding...
I must have missed that.
They are adding snow, so whether the cows come home or not probably is not really relevant.
Well, that is true because I am actually pretty excited about them adding snow and if they do like ice and all that stuff because, I live in Illinois and, most of us have experienced driving in snow and ice and stuff like that. I think that is actually going to be really fun to do in a game because I've had so much fun driving in the snow in real life. Just imagine the kind of trouble I would get in a game driving in the snow and the ice and just... so fun. Reminds me, by the way, if you do not know how to drive in the snow, please do not, because you will end up in the ditch. PSA over. So I'm obviously he's going to continue to play through Forza Horizon 3, but I did also want to make note that I played through the Gwent beta, which you guys have all played or are familiar with The Witcher 3, because
yes.
I keep talking about it and telling everybody they should play it, and then some people on this podcast even play it, and they say, I can't get past the first hour, or maybe even 2, and then they make me cry, and then I run away. And then I come talk about Gwent, because Gwent is amazing.
And that's why you're in Georgia, right?
I had to get away from you, and so this is the only place I knew that I could go and be safe, because Donnie's aura protects me down here. Kevin.
No, I'm the one who liked The Witcher, but I didn't have to. I only rented it. Donnie's the one who couldn't get by the first hour. That's why I'm saying you went to Georgia to take care of that.
We won't talk about Donnie. I told you that. Stop trying to say
proof
it.
of life, I think, right?
Don't bring up his name again.
If we say his name 3 times, does he show up like Beetlejuice?
Probably. But yeah. Anyway,
Sorry, go ahead.
Gwent.
Go ahead.
Those of you who played The Witcher obviously have had exposure to the Gwent card game Within, and it's hugely popular. I myself, when I was playing The Witcher, probably played way too much time sitting in a pub playing Gwent in a game that has literally dragons to kill. So I was excited when they announced the Gwent standalone game was coming, and I signed up immediately for the beta, and I have checked it out on the Xbox One. And they've changed it a little bit. It's not as simple, I guess you could say, as it was in The Witcher. This time, it reminds me of some more of Hearthstone stuff, where you can take and you put down your card, and then you can attack another card with some of the guys. Whereas before, it was just more of you're on a playing field, you put your cards down, you kind of build your side, and they build their side, and the best side wins. Now you can directly affect a lot of those cards and just kind of damage them. There are always cards that could like Scorch that would eliminate the highest card on the field, but that was really the only one that I can remember that affects the other side. This side's a lot more of that. Anyway, played through the training on that just to remind myself how to play it, because it had been a while, and I gotta say I like it. How do I put this? I don't like the randomness of the card drops, though. So, you build your deck by getting random card drops, which, as you progress through the game, you get credits or whatever, and you buy these packs, and you get random packs that have different cards in them. And so that's really how they're going to sustain this game, I bet, is through those card drops, and I just don't like it. In the actual Witcher game, it makes a lot of sense because it ties into the game itself, where you're going around, you're winning cards, they're part of quest lines, you can buy them in like the shops. I don't know, the core is still here and I like it, but I can't see myself enjoying it quite as much as Gwent within the Witcher. If that makes any sense, I hope I am expressing myself there, but this is in the beta. This is still being formulated, and I have trust in CD Projekt Red and what they'll be doing with this product, and I will definitely be checking out the full version, but I don't know if I'm going to be doing much more playing of the beta, because I'm just a little disheartened by the card collection regime. So that's the Gwent beta. For some reason, on my Xbox One was looking for games to play and talking to friends, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to play this for a second. And I started up Red Dead Redemption, and I went into the Undead Nightmare pack, because why not? And I forgot how to play that game so bad. I couldn't even remember how to, I was holding a torch in my hand, because apparently that was a thing in the zombie DLC. And I couldn't remember how to get a pistol or anything out. And I was just walking around with this torch in my hand. And then I remembered, I had to hold the button down, and then the wheel comes up. So it took me a long time to remember the controls, which still hold up as far as the controls do. But that game, you got to remember that it was from a few years ago when you go in to play
just
that.
a little bit.
And how games have changed since then. But hey, it's a great game. It's a classic. I never have yet beaten the Undead Nightmare stuff on it, but I intend to one of these days get back to it. So looking forward to that. And then I played a little bit more Madden NFL 17 with one of my buddies, and it's fun to play Madden, but it still kind of stings every time I look at it. It says L.A. Rams, because when you have the score, it's L.A. versus whatever, like SF or San Francisco. It just doesn't seem right to me yet, but it's a fun game. Gotta love playing football with your friends. And then lastly, this isn't really a game per se, but it's a gamified way to watch and distribute or stream content, and that's in Beam. Have you guys heard of Beam?
Yes.
Just a little bit.
Well, for those of you who are listening and don't know what Beam is, I don't blame you. It's a newcomer on the block, really, for the streaming side of things. It is a rival to Twitch and YouTube gaming, and I actually like it a lot better so far than either of those platforms. And part of the reason is because there is a leveling system, so you earn XP and higher levels as you stream and as you watch content. So it just kind of creates engagement that way. And the community over there has been really welcoming and awesome. So from a community side of things, it's really cool just to hop into someone's stream and they say, hey, what's going on? And they're very responsive because Beam is built on a platform that is like very low latency. Because on Twitch, it's usually, about 30 seconds or so before someone actually sees what you would say.
Yeah.
And with this, I mean, at most, it's 5 seconds, at the most. And it's really awesome to get that level of engagement. It makes it a lot more fun and entertaining for both the host and those on the stream, and everybody can just really be all part of a good conversation and what's happening in the game. And it makes a lot more sense to me in a lot of ways. So the zero latency thing is really cool. I will be doing more things with Beam as we continue on, and I'm still just trying to figure some stuff out with the streaming myself. But I think as we go along, I like to see how much we could put it into use with the PSVG team, which we're already building a PSVG stream team. So there will be some fellows that you are familiar with that are streaming over there on our PSVG team. You can find that by searching for PSVG on Beam. And you can find me at psvg.pro/SpiderJedi. Which, yeah, by the way, it's beam.pro. What did I say? Did I say psvg.pro?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, you
Okay,
did.
whoops. I meant beam.pro/SpiderJedi. So, yeah, go to beam.pro. That's the actual website URL that you would type in to go there. Ladies, gentlemen, whoever's listening, I also have an issue with my voice right now, if you can't tell, so I'm going to let somebody else talk, take a sip, mute my mic, sit back, and relax. I suggest you do the same.
Well, if they're listening, I would certainly hope they had their mics muted because they can't talk to us.
Don't tell them that. They don't know that yet.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. So Kyle, then why don't you go up next, sir?
Well, funny story. When Nathan was talking to us all about this Beam, and even though I'm not an Xbox guy, I still want to be supportive. So I jumped in and joined Beam, and started watching Nathan's stream, and he had some music playing on it. I was at work when I did this, so then I was like, hey, this is some nice music to listen to. So I kind of just put it in the background and totally forgot about it and streamed all night. So then when I went in the next morning to work, I was a really high level already. I was really impressed with myself. I had earned a lot of XP. I had leveled up a lot. I was pretty proud.
Oh, jeez.
So I don't think work was super happy, but I was pretty stoked about what had gone on. So that was pretty good. But on the gaming front, I am a big fan, despite their problems, and I do have problems with them from time to time. But overall, a big fan of most of the games our good friends in Texas make. Is in regards to the Walking Dead series and Tales from the Borderlands and all those good things. So I'm a big fan of Telltale and everything that they do. So recently Sony had a sale, and Walking Dead Michonne was part of that sale. So I said, you know what? For $4.50, even though I haven't heard great things about this, I'm going to check it out. So I downloaded it, beat all 3 parts of the story in about 3 hours because it's really short.
That's really short.
Yeah, I think they were an hour to an hour 15 per chapter, and it's it was worth $4.50. I don't know if it was worth much more than that, Definitely my least favorite thing I think that I've seen from Telltale. I still enjoyed my time with it. Definitely glad though that I waited till that was on sale to pick that up. I am very excited about Batman though, but I'm holding fast to my rule of not playing it until all of the episodes are out. Though it's becoming very hard because people keep talking about how great it is. So yeah, so Walking Dead Michonne, if you get a good sale on it or a good deal on it, I think it's worth the play. But otherwise, definitely not my favorite in that series.
Kyle,
yes, sir.
I do have to point out that I think that this needs said, and I don't think Kevin is going to say it, so I'll have to. That Batman, the Telltale series, is not the game that we deserve, but it's the game that we need right now.
All right.
That is all.
So, with that as a jumping off point, I also finished up the story in Rise of the Tomb Raider. Really enjoyed my time with the game.
That game is so good. Oh, I'm so excited that you can play it now. That's right. No, I'm not even trying to be facetious for that. I was genuinely excited that you guys are able to experience that now on the PlayStation side. It's so. I'm genuinely interested to see what you thought of it.
No, I enjoyed it. It was, I think, unfortunately, and this is partly my fault, I think it was a little bit of a victim of its own hype, that I was so excited to play it. It was my most anticipated game of the fall. I don't know how it was going to live up to my expectations, and it, in many ways, did not. Gameplay-wise, everything else was... I had fun playing it. I really struggle with the story, and that's true in both of the new Tomb Raider games. The story has just not been very engaging to me. I haven't really cared that much about any of the characters other than Lara. But the gameplay is so fun that I keep playing it, and I go hunting, and I shoot deer, and I shoot rabbits, and all that fun stuff, and I run around and do all those cool things. But, from this one, I just had so many games to play that I was like, well, let's get through the story. Maybe this will be really good, and then I can go back and clean up all the other stuff and do what I like. And the story just doesn't do it for me, but I love the tombs, I love the gameplay, I love all of that part. I don't know what it is about the stories, they've just never been super engaging to me.
Well, it's a good thing it's called Rise of the Tomb Raider and not her friends. Come on now.
Rise of the Tomb Raider and her friends.
No, the Rise of the Tomb Raider and not Rise of the Tomb Raider's friends, or whatever you want to call it, because
right.
they're kind of forgettable. But I mean, I think in the first one there were not the first one, but the reboot. Yep. There was more engagement to the friends, but there was that one character in this one too that they wanted you to get attached to as a friend.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
There is no Sully in this series.
No,
you know what I mean?
There's not. And I think that, and like I said, it is hard because obviously it's going to draw the comparisons to Uncharted like it always does, and from I vastly, I like the story in Uncharted far more, but I think the gameplay in Tomb Raider is just better. So it's kind of that. Not that.
Is there less climbing?
No, there's not less climbing. Not less climbing. Actually, I was getting really frustrated at one point because you're climbing with your little ice axes. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so slow. So I'm literally jumping and sticking the ice axes in and then just jumping again because the climbing itself is just so tedious. But then you finally, spoilers, I guess, but you eventually find an upgrade that lets you climb faster, which I was very thankful for when that happened because I was getting a little annoyed at the pace of climbing.
Dude, so when you said climbing with ice axes, it sounds a lot like Sixaxis, the controller. So it's like, yeah. Can you imagine having to do the climbing with your controller?
Sixaxis.
Well, because it's original Uncharted, that's how you threw grenades. Woo.
Oh, that's terrible.
I know. That's why it's not in the remaster because that's bad. So, yeah, but anyway, so yeah.
That's why I never threw grenades in that game.
So Rise of the Tomb Raider, though, really good. Definitely recommend it. I haven't jumped too much into the other content on the disc. I haven't done the PSVR part yet. I haven't done Endurance or anything. I did play through the Baba Yaga mission just because it kind of happens naturally in the game. And that was okay. It was interesting. But overall, still definitely recommend it. It was a lot of fun. Didn't quite live up to my expectations, but in retrospect, that's probably my fault, not the game's fault. I probably wanted more of it than probably more than most games could ever have delivered. So really enjoy it.
So what you're saying then, Kyle, is because you wouldn't care for friends, you're gonna completely skip the Let's Go to the Mall DLC?
Well, I had considered playing it, but I'm probably gonna skip that part.
Okay.
So yeah, In addition, still putzing around with PSVR, still playing that, pretty regularly, actually. Still working on, even though my review is up, still working on Tethered. I put up my review because I'm really bad at the game. I got to a point where I'm like, oh man, this review's never going to get done if we go purely by my ability to finish this. Not because the game doesn't work or anything, but because I'm bad. But still playing that, still doing some Until Dawn Rush of Blood. I'm still checking out a lot of things there and really enjoying it. So definitely still enjoying my time with PSVR.
Can you still see the color purple?
I can still see the color purple. No eye problems as of yet.
Awesome.
Like the movie with Oprah?
Actually, I don't know if I've ever seen that movie. So
Dude, watch it in cinema mode.
I could. That's a good idea, actually. And that's about it for gaming for me. Overwatch has still been, that game that I keep going back to. And man, am I having fun with Overwatch. But then on the tabletop side, finished up all 7 games of Harry Potter Battle for Hogwarts. It's fun. It's definitely, towards the end of it, it is, and no spoilers here because this is a game that can be spoiled. Towards the end, the games get very long. I think when we played Game 7, it was probably, 2.5 hours, which for a quote-unquote introductory deck-building game is a really long time, actually.
Yeah.
The 2.5, 3 hour mark is what you typically expect for like a heavier Euro game or not a quote-unquote, entry-level gateway game as this game is marketed as. So that last time the game was really long. I like the game and it is fun, and I don't know if it's just because I am a huge fan of deck builders and have played so many, and am a recovering Magic player, but man, we never were in a situation where we were even close to losing. So that's kind of maybe a little bit of a bummer for me, is that we never felt super challenged. There's location cards in the game, and the way you lose is that if the villains end up controlling all the locations, you lose. We only ever lost control of one location card ever in all 7 games.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and like I said, I don't know if it's just because we were lucky, good, or that we know how to maximize deck builders because I play them so much and my wife plays them so much, but we were never really in trouble. It was just sometimes the games took a long time. So still fun, still definitely recommend it. But if you are a more advanced board game person or tabletop person, it may not be a super challenging game, but it's still fun. So that's about what I've been up to.
Well then, speaking of advanced tabletop deck building board game persons, Josh, it's your turn, sir.
Oh boy. Well, I actually had a question for Nathan before I started in regards to Gwent. So I wanted to know, with what you've played with the beta so far, what you would pay for it and what you think they're going to ask for it.
Ooh, it's a good question. They're pretty fair with their pricing. I would not be surprised if it came in, $10 or $15, honestly. That's about the range I think that I would pay for it, honestly, too, because I think that they're probably going to introduce microtransactions, which may even make it a free-to-play kind of model. But I'm not sure if they're going to do that or not. But I think for me, $15 is the ceiling.
All right, cool. I was afraid it was going to be like a $40 game, but for like
I can't see
10,
that
15,
being...
I'd be in.
Yeah.
Because I can play Hearthstone for free.
That's right. I mean, that's their competition.
Yeah.
So if you can't come out and be like super expensive compared to that.
Cool. Well, I'm going to start with the worst then. And I've been playing Ginger Beyond the Crystal this week. So that was for the review. So I got that out of the way.
What is Ginger?
Well, it's not telling by the name.
Hey.
It's a little blue guy.
I prefer the term cinnamon American. I've told you guys this numerous times.
Okay, well,
Ginger is a derogatory term.
Don't worry, he's a gingerian, so you got no competition.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I think we had this conversation on the chat. Who said it? Kyle? It's like naming your son Hugh because he's a Hugh man.
That's dumb.
I was like, I'm pretty certain that wasn't me.
No,
so.
it wasn't you.
I don't remember anybody saying that.
Well, the guy's name is Ginger, and he's a gingerian. Like, it's not a very original name for a character.
I will say, though, when I was a young man, for a science class project one time, I had to create a habitat for a newt, and I named him Newton.
Well, that's better.
That's clever. I mean, that's all right.
That's better than Ginger the Gingerian. Anyways, that describes my feelings on the game. You can see my review. Apparently, it's our lowest recorded score on a game that the website's reviewed. So
What? Seriously?
I have that going for me.
It's
I
lower than
don't think
Perfect
that is
Woman?
accurate. I think Nathan still has that.
What's the lowest for Nathan?
35.
Oh, I'm right there, 40. Okay, so yeah,
Okay.
very close. So, anyways, let's move past Ginger and my misinformation. After listening to the review cast, I picked up JazzPunk yesterday, and it is insanely quirky and original and hilarious all at the same time, so I'm really enjoying that.
So Kevin has now sold this game at least to 2 people.
Yeah.
Yes, I have. Checks in the mail.
No, it's crazy innovative. I really like it. It's ridiculous in the best way possible. I can't even describe half the things I've seen or tried to describe them. Then Titanfall 2 really has been what I've been mainly putting my time into.
So jealous.
Basically, I split up my time. I'll do, an hour campaign and then an hour multiplayer before I go to work. Taking advantage of those Mountain Dew and Doritos double XP codes that I've been getting every day. But so far, the campaign's fantastic. It's very, very much like a Call of Duty Black Ops campaign. Where it's pretty good on the story setup, and you kind of really feel like you have a purpose in the game, which I really like. It's not just a pasted on campaign mode. Not like Battlefield 1, because that's good, but like the previous Battlefield games, where the campaign's pretty much a waste of your time. Titanfall 2, it really gets you involved and kind of gets you more into knowing why you're fighting these guys and what they're doing. And they added some pretty crazy bosses. It remind me of kind of the Division bosses, where they're kind of nuts and almost Jokerish in their attitudes, which I like a lot. And then on the multiplayer level, it's been pretty phenomenal. I like to play games like this now when everyone's on. You can't, it would be like trying to pick up Evolve right now for Xbox and hoping to find a match. I don't like when you get into games like that so late in their life. So it's been great so far. And then the last thing is the Battle for Hogwarts game. Unlike Kyle, we have lost a few games, so I do see the challenge in the beginning a little bit, but my wife and I are enjoying it. We finally just finished Game 3, so we're looking forward to starting Game 4. It's obviously, hugely thematic, so if you like deck builders but don't like Harry Potter, just go pick up Ascension or Legendary or something else. But if you like Harry Potter even a little bit, it's definitely worth your time. It's not an expensive game, which is nice to find a game with good mechanics for a reasonable price.
Did you need a coupon to get a reasonable price on those mechanics?
No. But I did use my Barnes & Noble 20% off coupon to buy the game, so I guess in a way.
So did I.
So yeah, that's it for me for this week. It's been a relatively slow week, but next week looks to be promising on the gaming front.
Josh,
you
know
said
why you're having struggles winning in Harry Potter?
Yeah, we've just had a couple unfortunate villains go back to back that kind of their abilities kind of team up with each other accidentally and really make it hard for us to complete a round or two, because one guy will be like, add a skull to a location, the other guy will say if you had to add a skull to a location, lose 3 health or something crazy like that. I know those aren't the actual cards, but basically their effects are doubling up on each other and really making it hard for us.
The correct answer, sir, is that you're not using Neville.
Oh, damn it. I knew you were going to say that too.
Because Neville solves all of the problems in that game.
That might be it. You're right.
Josh, you said in Titanfall the bosses were kind of like Joker in a way. Now, are we talking Cesar Romero Joker? Are we talking Jack Nicholson? I need to know.
Yes, face paint right over the mustache, just like Cesar Romero.
We're talking Mark Hamill Joker.
Hello, boys and girls.
Yeah, they're very quirky, and they have that kind of maniacal tone to them. It's been pretty enjoyable so far.
Cool. I'm so envious of you being playing that game right now because I want to play it. It looks so good.
Yeah, I had to trade some games in to get it, but it was worth it.
There you go. So I will start off with what Josh ended with then, and I too am playing Battle for Hogwarts, deck building board game, whatever you want to call it, with the whole family in this instance. I'm playing with 4 people.
Oh wait, so this is a board game?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a board game.
Oh, no wonder I never heard of it. I was like, I have no clue what you guys are talking about right now, but I'll just be quiet because I'll sound stupid. But I'll sound stupid now because I didn't even know. There you go.
So yeah, I'm playing that. We've finished the first 2 games or rounds, whatever you call them. Didn't start the third one yet because the second one went a little bit longer than I think we thought it was going to be. I like it. I actually really like it. I think the most difficult part was being able to explain it to the rest of my family as we're trying to play, especially playing with a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old. So the learning curve was a little bit iffy for them there, who the only card game experience they've had is with like Pokemon, the card game. So a little bit of a curve there, but we got through it, and I think they enjoyed it as well. My only, I don't want to say gripe, my only thing I was surprised at was, so Kyle says, oh, Neville solves all problems, that there's no difference in any of the heroes. It doesn't matter who you are, essentially. There's no benefit or edge that one person has over another, but yet all the villains have unique benefits, but the heroes don't. So I found that a little odd. I kind of wish they did something with that.
When you get to like game 3, I want to say your characters like level up, and you get new abilities per character.
Indeed.
I take that back then.
I was going to say, just wait, Kevin, just wait.
I'm pretty sure I'm playing as Ron, I think, because, he's Ginger. Besides that, I did wrap up, to tie back into what Kyle mentioned earlier, Batman Telltale Episode 3 came out, and I finished up Episode 2 and then jumped in and finished Episode 3 kind of back-to-back. Episode 3 in this game, it blew up this episode for the series. This is kind of where it really, really is taken off. There's been a couple twists and a couple turns. This one is the one that sold it, and right away I'm like, this is right up there with, I'd probably say The Wolf Among Us for me, as far as the quality level, and I think that was my favorite Telltale game going into this. The stories are just totally different, man. This is not, if you're familiar with Batman, you have not heard a story like this ever in any iteration of Batman, and there have been tons of them. If you're not too familiar with the Batman mythos, it won't take you out of it. But even if you are, you're kind of, things catch you off guard and surprise you. There's a lot of familiar faces, but they don't all have the same roles you're familiar with, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But
Kevin,
if you have not played it, yes,
did Bruce's parents die?
That part still stays true, but as a teaser, then to whet some people's palates, if you will. The circumstances around their death is very different than anything I've ever heard in any Batman story before.
Is that the route they're taking for the story? Is that they're kind of diving more into who killed his parents than the villains that kind of form around Batman?
No, you still know who. So this isn't really a spoiler. Joe Chill still is responsible for actually the act of killing them, but the circumstances around how it led to Joe Chill going to kill them is completely different. I'm not, like I said, I'm in episode 3. I think they're doing 5 or 6 episodes in this, and none of this is spoilers, so it's not a big deal. Catwoman's in it, obviously. Penguin's in it, obviously. Harvey Dent is Harvey Dent in it. Don't know if he's going to become Two-Face. It seems like it. And then you have Falcone is around as well. But that's all I've seen so far, so I don't know if there's going to be any other surprise. Oh, Vicky Vale's a regular character. Lucius Fox is in it. Obviously Alfred. So, there's a lot of familiar faces around you. It's just none of these people are quite as you've seen them before. Except for Lucius Fox. He's still good old Lucius, but I did kind of wish it was Morgan Freeman, though, but,
My good friend, Bruce Wayne, likes spelunking.
We won't say through what. Animal Crossing New Leaf, playing that. Obviously, Nintendo had their big release for the new expansion, which was surprisingly a lot bigger than I was anticipating for a game that's 5 years old, and it's all free. So it's very weird. They added a lot of features, new areas, new benefits, new ways to play, amiibo support now. So It kind of feels like if you got burned by having, let's say, Happy Home Designer and you weren't thrilled about it, or the Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival game on Wii U and you felt you didn't get much use out of that, they kind of made up for it here with the add-ons for New Leaf. So if you've played New Leaf before and you still haven't played it in a while, definitely download the extras and see what's new in there. They added a lot of stuff to it for free, and I still don't understand why Nintendo decided to go back and update this game after this amount of time, but it is definitely cool. And then the last thing I've been playing is I started Everyone's Gone to the Rapture this morning. Completed the first quote-unquote story in it, and I can just say visually it looks great. Yes, the movement is extremely slow, but it has the best voice acting I've heard in a game to date so far. We talked a little bit about it before we started recording today. Kyle said, Firewatch will probably give me a run for my money too, so I'll be sure to make sure I play that too. It's been on my list regardless. But enjoying that, and if you have PlayStation Plus, it is free this month to download and play. Yeah, I'm having fun with that too. It's a very intriguing storyline. I know Donnie said he did not like it and actually hated it, I believe was the words he said. But I like it, so we'll see where that goes. But that's it from us, ladies and gentlemen. So every week we like to check in and see what you have to say. So it's time to dive into the messages.
Message for you, sir.
Our first question this week is very relevant. Ray asked us, with the release of Doctor Strange this week, which two of our cast members tonight have seen it already, which has been your favorite Marvel movie release to date? So before we get into the answer of that, Nathan and Kyle, I know the two of you, so Josh, you didn't see it yet, right?
Yet.
Okay, so Josh and I have not seen it yet, but the other two have. So spoiler-free, though, guys, so let's not get into any details. How did you enjoy it? And then you can answer what's your favorite Marvel movie to date. Let's throw it to Nathan first.
Kyle, Kevin, Josh, I thought it was entertaining.
It's a solid review.
Is that a plug?
Maybe. It was, I went into this movie the least excited I have ever gone into a Marvel movie. I'll be honest.
Sure.
But I really like Benedict Cumberbatch's performance as Strange. I've never really identified with the character of Stephen Strange, but I thought Benedict did a good job actually portraying him and make him a character that you care about. So that's what I'll say about it.
Okay. So what's been your favorite Marvel movie to date, then?
So is this MCU, or does this include like X-Men movies as well?
I'm going to say the MCU, I think.
I mean, my favorite today, I think it's tough because there's a lot that are really good. I absolutely adore the first Iron Man movie. It's amazing, but I also just really like Captain America 2: The Winter Soldier. A long time ago we went through the Marvel movies on That's Entertaining, and I did rank them, but it has to be one of those two for me because they're just so good. Civil War is like a close in the top 5 for sure, just because Iron Man is my favorite character. He always has been. But the story of the Winter Soldier, even if you're not a comic book fan, you can go into that movie without knowing anything about comics and still walk away with being impressed by a good movie. Good storytelling was excellent.
Definitely.
And every time you see the Winter Soldier on screen, you are like the music that they put with him and everything is just really super well done. Love that movie. And I think that's probably going to have to be my favorite of the MCU.
All right. Fair enough. So, Kyle, same questions to you. Initial impressions of Doctor Strange, spoiler free, and then your favorite MCU movie to date.
So I very, very, very lightly dabble as far as comics go. I don't know anywhere near as much as Nathan does. So I knew, I'd heard of Doctor Strange. That was about it. Didn't know too much else about him. But I am a huge Benedict Cumberbatch fan, and it was interesting because I had seen multiple people who had been posting things that they felt that he was miscast and should not have played Doctor Strange. And I will say, I think that is completely wrong. I thought this movie was great. I really enjoyed him as Doctor Strange. I thought he did a phenomenal job. And if I had to rate, and I think I've seen at this point every single MCU movie. For me, my top three pretty easily. Number one is Guardians of the Galaxy. Number two is Captain America: Winter Soldier, and then actually Doctor Strange would be number three for me.
Well,
Hey, there you go. All right, so Josh, what is your favorite MCU movie to date then? Or you can cheat and give top three like Nathan and Kyle.
I didn't give my top three. I only said two.
No, well, you mentioned number 5, so
I didn't mention number 5.
you said Civil War was in your top 5.
Oh, well, come on. Guardians was amazing too, by the way. I love
yes,
it was.
yes. I was going to cheat anyways. I was going to say I have a tie for number one. So it's okay. Yeah, my tie is not Civil War. Captain America, Winter Soldier, phenomenal. It's basically like watching a Bourne movie. They did such a good job with that. And then Guardians of the Galaxy was tied with that for me because there's no other movie like Guardians. And I come from a big comic background, and I wasn't familiar with any one of the main characters from Guardians, and that movie really just it sold the crap out of itself to me. Like, that movie was hilarious and the action was phenomenal, and I love James Gunn, so like it was just the style for me as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And my answers are the same thing as well. Have to go to Guardians of the Galaxy. It was a great surprise. Like you said, not knowing much about those characters. I don't think anybody really did at this point. But they left certainly knowing, and they're very beloved now, you can honestly say. And plus, I got to support my boy Michael Rooker there, Yondu.
That's right.
And then Winter Soldier, yeah, like you said, it's like a Jason Bourne movie. It's like it's a spy thriller type thing with some action and some superheroes thrown in. So, yeah, I mean, those are my top two as well. And then I'd probably put third, at least for right now, Civil War. I know it's not even remotely close to being a perfect movie by any means, but I loved how they handled the larger cast of characters and putting new ones in all at the same time in a very established universe at this point. I think they handled it as best they could. So, and it got me excited for more things like Black Panther. I didn't care about Black Panther at all until Civil War, and the new Spider-Man's looking great. So it's laid a lot of groundwork, I think, for the next phase of the MCU, if you will.
Can we go on a tangent real quick?
By all means, we always do it.
So, the Guardians talk got me remembering that there was a trailer for Guardians 2 that was released recently, and that was actually shown in front of Doctor Strange, and I went and saw it. That movie looks really good. But speaking of trailers, yesterday they also released a new Wonder Woman trailer, and good Lord, I already have high hopes for this movie. This is my DC thing that I've been looking forward to most since they announced it. And they, if the trailers are any indication, are doing Wonder Woman justice that I never thought that character would see in a cinematic presentation. I just have to say that I am super excited about it. I think Gal Gadot is going to do an amazing job. She was already really good in Batman vs. Superman. This setting is really well done from everything I've seen, and it's actually pretty appropriate with Battlefield 1, kind of a game tie-in. You can kind of get it familiarized with what that is, because this is kind of in that time period. I think this is World War I that she was in, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah. So it looks really, really good. I'm excited to see what happens with it. But yeah, I just want to go on a tangent about Wonder Woman trailer and the Guardians trailer because they both look really well done. Oh, and so I went and saw it with Alex last night, and this was the first time that he had seen the Rogue One trailer that they released. That was like a longer one. Yeah, that looks tremendous, and we saw it in 3D IMAX. It looks really good. The trailer looks really good in 3D, you guys. Oh my gosh, this next month, Star Wars again, guys. Oh yeah.
Oh, so now since you went on a tangent, Nathan, I have to say I'm pretty sure I've seen the Wonder Woman movie. I think it was called Captain America: The First Avenger.
That movie was garbage.
Yeah, that's the same vibe I'm getting from this Wonder Woman movie, unfortunately. But
what?
Yeah, it honestly it does not have me excited at all because it just keeps barking out to me the first Captain America movie, which is my least favorite Marvel cinematic movie.
This does not remind
even
me.
lower than Ant-Man.
This does not remind me at all of Cap.
I don't know. I'm hoping it's the opposite, but honestly, the DCU, if you will, has burned me so many times now. that I don't want to go in with high hopes, because Man of Steel, still hate that movie. Batman vs Superman, still hate that movie. Suicide Squad I did enjoy, but but the reason I enjoyed Suicide Squad was the characters and the fun behind it, whereas Wonder Woman just does not look like any fun or has any good characters other than Wonder Woman. But I'm hoping I'm wrong. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely hope I'm wrong. I just don't want to get my hopes up, because every time I do, DCU proves me wrong that they still don't have their stuff together. But I don't know.
So really,
all right. So
just very
yeah, go.
So I
It's
have
time
to
for
say,
Kyle's
Kevin,
tangent.
Here,
Look what you started, Nathan.
I know, tangent type. So here's why I am hopeful for Wonder Woman. Now, you can boo me if you want. I haven't seen Suicide Squad yet.
Boo!
That's fine. Because I have felt burnt by DC. But here's why I am hopeful for this movie. Number one, there were bright colors in it. Oh goodness, look, things are bright and cool looking, which doesn't happen, but Suicide Squad looks like that does it more. Number two, they talked about saving people like heroes do, which is pretty cool, because usually the DC comics don't care about that, which is, you're superheroes, save some people. And there were some good, now granted, who knows if that'll be in the full cut, but there was they showed some, some seriousness going on, but they also showed some humor. So I'm hoping they will have that good mix, and so I have hope. I do have hope that this movie is going to be great.
So I totally forgot. One last note on Wonder Woman. This isn't a bash again. Does anybody else watch Supergirl?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So have you seen that Linda Carter is the president of the United States?
Yep.
Okay. Did you guys catch the reference on the last episode?
Yeah, unfortunately.
The last episode? I don't know if I've seen the latest
Yeah, where
one.
I think it was, maybe it was the next last episode. Where Supergirl says, Air Force One is so impressive, and she says, well, you should see my other jet, and gives her a wink.
Yeah, that was awful.
That was awesome.
Did you also catch...
She's not Wonder Woman.
Doesn't matter.
Did you also catch the other wink to Wonder Woman when there was a fire on Supergirl and she spun and she put it out?
Yes. Yep. I like it. I like DC TV is way better than the DC movies for me. I like the nods that they make to the classics. I mean, every single one of them has had an original person in it, between what's his face that played Superman and Lois and Clark, and you have Linda Carter, and then in the Flash you had the guy who played Flash as Barry's dad. I love all the tie-ins and the throwbacks. I just like the DC TV much better than the movies so far.
I agree.
But all right, so let's get back to stuff, because this is a video game podcast.
Part of my tangent, I just remembered we also saw the Logan trailer again in the big screen. Good Lord, that looks good.
All right, so our second question then is from Devin. He wants to know, how much we like a game influence our review score?
What?
like your personal bias. So let's put it this way. JazzPunk. I enjoyed the heck out of this game. Would I say it's a better game than, let's say, an Uncharted or even like the Batman Telltale game? Absolutely not. But it got a great score because of the fun and how much I enjoyed the game. So for me personally, it does affect it. It may be a great game, but I might not like it as much. Certain parts of Uncharted 4 for me dragged on, and it made me kind of hate it, but the game saved itself. But, it was still a good game. I didn't lower the score because I didn't enjoy it. But if I enjoy a game and I like it, whereas it may not, quote-unquote, be a good game, yeah, it does affect my score. I'll give it a higher score because I enjoyed it, so...
You just talked circles around yourself. You realize that?
No. So...
I still love you, Kevin.
I won't score a game lower because I don't enjoy it. But if I enjoy a game, I will score it higher. It does get bonus points for me having fun. That's kind of what I was meaning to say.
Well, can I take a crack at it first?
Absolutely.
Right, so I think I know exactly what he means by it. When you read it, it sounds like a weird question, because obviously if you like a game, it's going to influence your score. But the way that I read it is how I would use my Castles review, which was coincidentally my first review for the site. It's a puzzle game, and I hate puzzle games. It's just not for me. Not generally good at them. And if I was going to rate Castles how I liked it, it would have got a 40. It would have got a 50. But it got a 70 because I can understand, you have to look at other things besides how you enjoy it. You got to look at the work that the developers put in, if there is story, how much gets, added in. You look at the creative design of the game, controls, all that kind of stuff, which is what you would relatively put into a review anyways. So I think that for me, I try not to let it influence how much I review, like what my score is, because like I like a game doesn't mean everyone's gonna like it. And like on the JazzPunk side, where like your score was so high, that's definitely kind of the opposite of the way that I did the Castles one, but I still understand how that was scored for you. And that's another thing is when you start, I think we talked about it in the chat, when you start following certain reviewers, you know how they review games. So if Kevin reviews games and you see Kevin's reviews and he says he really liked it and that's why the score got so high, then I get it. I'll follow Kevin and I'll base off my purchases on what Kevin likes. But like right at the very beginning of my review for Castles, I'm like, yeah, I'm good at Tetris and Puzzle Quest. So like, don't take my review to be like the be all end all of the content of the game.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Like I said, I understand where you come from. We're kind of all in the position now here at Play Some Video Games where we're getting the opportunity to start, reviewing a lot of games, and sometimes you end up with games that you wouldn't have played at all, and you got to try to not let it clout you, which I totally get. Like I said, I would never score something down because it wasn't my style of game, but JazzPunk was one of the games that I probably never would have played if I didn't get a review code, but I did, and I absolutely had so much fun with it that boosted it up for me, because considering it's a quote-unquote indie game, I thought it was a much higher quality indie game versus some of the other ones that I've played, and we've all kind of unfortunately played some of these indie titles lately that are just really bad. So to get something nice every once in a while, you're like, wow, this is really good, and it can affect you. But yeah, if you understand that person you're following and you relate to, and obviously the listeners of the podcast know us a little bit more than just what we're writing on the screen, they'll kind of get a vibe for what may or may not be for them based on our preferences.
Yeah, otherwise Ginger would have been a 10 for me if they didn't have some good levels.
Exactly. So, Nathan, you following now what we're putting down?
I'm following you more now than I was earlier, but just to recap for the listeners, please reread the question once more.
Okay, so in the exact words of Devin, how much does how much you like a game influence your score?
So I'm going to interpret that as source material. Let's say it's a Star Wars game, right? And I'm a Star Wars guy.
It's instantly an 80 or higher.
Not necessarily, because I know a terrible Star Wars game when I see one. And as much as I'm a fan of the universe and of the story and of the lore, if a game is unplayable, unbearable, that it's still a terrible game. So from that aspect, technical ability of a game is really what you have to base a lot of stuff on. The audio direction, the storytelling, everything like that all factors in, and that all encompasses, when I review a game, what it has to bring to the table, right? For a game, let's say, to get a perfect score from me, it has to be the complete package. It can't just be a game where I play it and it's a really great story, but man, that those sticky controls, they just never really wanted to work right, or that cover mechanic was really bad. It's not gonna override those issues that you run into. So if that makes sense to answer the question that way, is like, if it's a Star Wars game like Knights of the Old Republic, that was a fantastic game. That was a great package. Everything was there. The storytelling, the lore, introducing those light and dark side choices back then, that was fantastic. However,
right, for
every Knights of the Old Republic, there are 10, Yoda stories or something like that.
Masters of Terrascasi.
That wasn't that bad, though. But there are always going to be these games that are just terrible, that use the license and abuse the license, honestly. And it's a lot more, you find terrible games that use licenses than you find good games. So to me, that's how I'll interpret the question, and hopefully that's the answer that he's looking for.
There you go. So last but not least, Kyle, what's your thoughts?
I guess how much does it influence my score? Some? Is that a good answer? Just some?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I'm going to go with. Some.
All right. Do you care to elaborate at all or no?
No, it's hard, right?
That sums it up.
Yeah.
Gosh, I think it's difficult because if I look back at a game like Bulletstorm, for instance, which is getting a remaster next year, but
Oh God, why?
well, because that game,
That
not
is a
necessarily a
ridiculous
great
remaster.
game, but
Why?
man, did I have fun playing that game. That game was
Sure.
fun to play. But like when you look back and you put all the stuff together, can I say, even though I may have had a quote unquote 10 for fun, yeah, there was problems. The story was dumb. Like there's just some things that weren't great about it. So, is that a 10? No, it's not. But you know what? If I'm someone who really enjoyed the gameplay and my time with it, and someone else didn't enjoy it, I think there would be a difference in our scores. How much? I don't know. I think there definitely is an impact. I think that you can still separate to a degree and try to be quote unquote critical about, oh, even though I don't appreciate something, I can still see what was good about it, or even though I really appreciate something, I can still pick out the flaws. But if you have a good time playing a game and someone else has a bad time, you're probably still going to score that game differently. But I think how much, I think it's going to depend from person to person. And for me, I like to think it's not a ton, but there's definitely an influence and there's definitely a change there.
Sure, that makes sense. All right, so our last question, as always, is a wife question of the week, and this week it was provided by none other than Kyle's wife. And she asked, what is your favorite band, and who or how were you introduced to them? So let's throw it to Nathan first this time.
My favorite band. Wow. Does the London Symphony Orchestra count?
Sure, why
Yeah,
not?
why not? That works.
That's my favorite band. I absolutely love classical music in not to the sense like Beethoven and Tchaikovsky and that, although I do love them and listen to them. I like the London Symphony Orchestra, and particularly because the way that they present the brass in their recording studio. There's just something about a recording from LSO that just sounds superior to anything else, even the Hollywood Symphony and things like that. I'm trying to think of a good example of it. Star Wars. There we go.
Shocking.
So obviously Star Wars Imperial March, you've got any of the themes there that came from the London Symphony Orchestra Hall, and it just sounds so good. And it's kind of a cheat to say LSO because people move in and out. It's more of an establishment than a band, right? Because you have a band like, let's say, Linkin Park or something like that, and they can break up, but those are the people. Those are the bands. But that is the band. But with LSO, it's more of a thing where, hey, you'll have people that retire from the symphony or do things like that, and you'll just have a new class that comes in. So it's more of an established thing. But anyway, long way to say LSO, London Symphony Orchestra. Yeah, there you go. Was there another part to that question?
Nope, that was it. Oh, and how were you introduced? Who or how were you introduced to them?
By one Mr. John Williams. He said, hey, this is Star Wars. Listen to this. And I did. And I said, I want to listen to more of this, guys. And then I said, what else you got? And then I listened to Jaws, and I listened to all kinds of stuff. And love it.
So you listen to Star Wars, and you're like, hey, what else you got?
Not in the sense of, hey, this isn't my boat, I want to go something else. But no, absolutely loved what they could tell. I don't know if you got... Okay, let's get real for a second. All right. Have you guys literally ever teared up listening to music?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does it have to have lyrics for you to do that?
Nope.
Okay. Because, there are just times when listening to symphonic music in particular, you interpret or add to it what's going on in your life at that point in time, which is any music, right? But, with lyrical music, you are always to the point where you're trying, or the artist is trying to impart particular words to you because this is what they wrote, this is what they want you to hear. With music that's symphonic in nature, it's interpreted differently by every person. So I think that when you are able to listen to something, let's say if it even is a movie scene, like a movie score from Star Wars or something like that, it transports you to a different location in your mind. And you can imbue to that, how you felt when you first saw it, or if that pulls up some sort of memory to you without the need of lyrics. You can even do that with the Raindrop Suite. Or, yes. Do you pronounce it sweet or suit? I can't remember. S-U-I-T-E?
Sweet.
Sweet, yes. Thank you. So, anyway, yeah.
There we have it. All right, so Kyle, let's throw it to you next.
So I'm a 90s guy. I'm old. I was in high school. I graduated from high school in 1999. And
if you say Nickelback, you're fired.
I'm not going to say Nickelback.
Creed!
Okay.
I'm not going to say Creed either. Though I will say, I listened to both of those bands for a long time. Anyway.
With arms wide open.
It's amazing how everyone talks about how bad they are, but man, they've sold a lot of albums. But anyway, there's many bands that I respect from that decade. I'm a big fan of Counting Crows and Live, and a lot of that good stuff. But my favorite band, outside of Michelle Branch, because there's always a soft spot in my heart for Michelle Branch. My favorite band is actually a band named Oleander.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
So they are a alt rock band from the 90s who got for a while compared to Nirvana, which was a horrible comparison because they have one song that kind of sounds like it might have maybe been influenced by Nirvana. But the way I got introduced to them is when I was in high school. I went to Target because there was a sale for a video game that I wanted, and I can't remember what video game it was. But back then, they had CD sections and things. So I was glancing through the CD section looking for what else was on sale in there, and their album, February Sun, was on sale for $6. And I was like, I know one song by them. This is $6. What the heck? So I bought it. And was hooked ever since then. They have been my favorite band since then. I have driven hours and hours and hours to see them perform in front of less than 1,000 people. I mean, they are a band that is just very close to my heart. I listen to them easily still every week, if not almost every day still. I really enjoy them. They broke up for a while. They're actually back together again, only doing very, very small shows. They just released an album probably about 2 years ago now. But yeah, so Oleander, they are phenomenal.
Hey, can I have an honorable shout out to a couple bands
Go ahead.
that are more traditional in nature? This one isn't that traditional, but Weird Al Yankovic. I love Weird Al.
Oh, Weird Al's great.
I've seen him in concert at least twice. I think it's just twice now. But he's a brilliant songwriter and being able to take those songs that are established in pop culture and just make them funny and add little words and lyrics to them. Another band that I always really liked growing up too, outside of LSO, was Aerosmith. They're still one of my favorite bands. Their later stuff not so great, but in the 80s, that's the era that I like for Aerosmith. But I wanted to give a couple shout outs because those are two more traditional type music, because I realize when I say London Symphony Orchestra, I probably lose 1 billion listeners. Sorry, but there we go.
That's true. We can't afford to lose another billion.
That's right. We just got 1,000,001, so now we're down to 1 again.
That's right. So make sure you keep telling your friends,
especially if you live in China. Please tell your friends.
Yes. All right. So let's throw it to Josh.
All right. So I thought about this for a little bit. I had a hard time because, my favorite band I don't really quantify that much, but Oleander, I absolutely loved them. And Finger 11, these bands back when Finger 11 used to be good. But I'm going to see Nathan's LSO and I'm going to up it to a TSO. I'm a huge Trans-Siberian Orchestra fan.
And, those concerts are insane.
Yeah,
they're so fun.
I've been to dozens of their concerts, and they're different every year because they add new cast members, new band members, and new stage setups, and they're a phenomenal live show if you ever get to see them. They play a lot of casinos and stadiums, so they're around. They don't just do Christmas either. They have a Beethoven album and a bunch of other stuff, and they're releasing. I'm pretty excited. A new vinyl that's coming out this month, so I can't wait to grab that. But they're great, and the way I was introduced to them was 10 years ago. I was just flipping through the channels, and there was this really weird Jewel Christmas video on, and she was introducing a storyteller, and they cut to Trans-Siberian Orchestra playing, and it was like, man, they're playing like metal guitar and a Christmas song. This is phenomenal. And then you'd start seeing those videos like the Christmas lights on people's houses, and everyone's like, what song is that? Who is that band? And that's kind of where they got started for me. And, you know, I introduced them to my parents, and we go to concerts with them, and it's just a great show, and I could listen to that music year-round. It doesn't have to just be Christmas.
There you go. So for me, I'm a little weird. I don't think I have anything that would be considered my favorite band. I jump around a lot to stuff that I have. Like my first concert as a kid was in high school. My uncle took me to see the Rolling Stones. So it's wow. As far as concerts go, like how do you top that after that being your first concert? Was it's Rolling Stones and Smashing Pumpkins opened up for them, and it was the original Smashing Pumpkins, not the iterations that came later. But I guess I'd say what probably is the closest for me is The Offspring. Got introduced to them like many other gamers through Crazy Taxi. Nonetheless, the same 3 or 4 songs that were on that soundtrack got me listening to a bunch of the other things, and they were one of the bands I was fortunate enough to see at a Best Buy event, and it was nuts. They played. It was a very small venue. There was maybe less than 200 people in that room, and they were so loud that ceiling tiles were falling down. Like, it was just amazing how they go. They're dedicated, very talented people, and smart nonetheless too. But I kind of bounce all over everything. But I guess I'd say The Offspring is probably what I consider to be my favorite band if I had to pick one. But so that's it for messages this week. So let's dive into the main topic for this week, and we're going to talk a little bit about reviews. So if you've been following the news at all, I think it's about 2 weeks back now, Bethesda put out a press conference around their media review process. So I'll read their exact words. At Bethesda, we value media reviews. We read them, we watch them, we try to learn from them when they offer critique, and we understand their value to our players. Earlier this year, we released Doom. We sent review copies to arrive the day before launch, which led to speculation about the quality of the game. Since then, Doom has emerged as a critical and commercial hit and is now one of the highest-rated shooters of the past few years. With the upcoming launches of Skyrim Special Edition and Dishonored 2, we will continue our policy of sending media review copies one day before release, while we continue to work with media, streamers, and YouTubers to support their coverage both before and after release. We want everyone, including those in the media, to experience our games at the same time. We also understand that some of you want to read reviews before you make your decision, and if that's the case, we encourage you to wait for your favorite reviewers to share their thoughts. So now this has gone and sparked what may become the new norm of the gaming industry. We've seen numerous articles of other companies saying they love that idea, that practice, and they're also going to be implementing it. I've seen articles from different media outlets saying it hurts the gamers or it hurts the industry, etc., etc. So we want to take a little bit of time to weigh in on the topic and discuss our own thoughts around that. So I mean, I'll go first, considering we haven't really talked too much about this on the podcast. With me reviewing games, I have a little bit of a different approach. So I don't mind not getting a copy of a game to review, weeks and weeks before it comes out, to have it ready to review on the launch day, if you will. Simply because, in my mind, certain games, especially when you think of like Bethesda and Skyrim, if you've never played Skyrim before, can you really write an honest review with maybe a day or two playing the game and put like 5 or 6 hours in the game? There's no way you're going to give it a fair review. So while, yes, I understand a lot of gamers want to be able to check out reviews before a game launches or on the day the game launches, in my mind, if they're dropping that game right before it launches, like a week or so, the industry, from what we've seen, especially now that we're involved in it, they rush to be that first outlet to get out a review, regardless of what the substance is, how long they played it. I'm just seeing numerous times I'm getting review copies of games the same day as some of our other competition out there, and they're getting a review out the same day the code was emailed on. And I know it was emailed the same day because I was copied on that same email. So there's no way they gave that game just time to give it either a good or poor review. It doesn't matter if they over-reviewed it or under-reviewed it. They rushed to get that, to be that first outlet to say, hey, we reviewed it, regardless of the substance of it. So I applaud Bethesda, actually, for taking a stance and being the first ones to kind of say, listen, we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to send it out the day before, so most media outlets aren't even going to get it the day before. They may get it the day of or the day after. And sorry, guys, you have to hold your horses and wait and see if it's something to come out there. Now, full disclosure myself, I don't put a lot into other people's reviews, which might be a weird thing to say now as I'm reviewing things, but that's just my personal thing. If I'm really excited for a game, regardless of whether reviews are good or bad, I'm still going to play it if I was excited for it. If it's something that wasn't on my radar, yeah, if I see a positive review, that might get me to think, maybe I'll give this a shot. But if it's something I was already gung-ho about, which for me, Bethesda is one of my favorite publishers, I'm pretty jazzed about anything that they put out. The reviews don't really matter to me. I'll go and pick up their games without getting a review, or seeing review scores rather anyway. So for me, it doesn't really bother me, and I don't think it hurts the industry at all. I think it may actually increase the quality of reviews if everybody's not rushing to be that first person out with the review. If people take their time and give more quality, more time into the game, playing it prior to reviewing it, that can only help the industry, I would think, and help the gamers long term. Kyle, what do you think?
I've been thinking a lot about this, and I do wonder, when they're going to get that game so quick, are we going to see them, not putting something out, or are we going to see them putting out provisional reviews or reviews in progress or something like that, so that they're, starting their journey or starting their campaign and kind of going along the way? Because, I get it. For Bethesda, for them, there's no quote-unquote bad in this situation, right? Good. It's been shown for the most part that good reviews don't encourage people to buy the game. People were already going to get it anyway. But bad reviews can hurt sales. So by not having reviews the day your game comes out, you're really not going to probably be hurting. And if anything, you're going to get the most number of people who are going to buy your game are still going to buy your game. So from Bethesda's standpoint, it's great. There's been some people who have said, well, this hurts, for people who want to pre-order because they can get deals, or they can get, you get special pre-order exclusives and things like that. Yeah, you might miss out on a few skins or weapons or cars or whatever. Yeah, that could happen. But, if you have Amazon, that 20% discount is good for 2 weeks after the game comes out. So you don't have to necessarily pre-order that game to still save the 20% if that's what your concern is. And, I do find it interesting because there's been a lot of comments about how a lot of the big, and, obviously we review games and we sometimes get codes, but a lot of the games we still review are games that we've purchased on our own. They're not games that have been sent to us. And we try to be very clear about, where the differences in those situations are. But, the sites that we're not in competition with, maybe one day, but not today, the IGNs, the GameSpots, and all of those of the world, most of them have come out with articles that say this is hurtful and this is harmful to gamers and to the industry. And it's nice that they can have that perspective, and it's nice that they can use that as their front. But let's be honest, the same reason that Bethesda is doing this is because they're a business and they recognize that this is probably a way for them to maximize profit. Yes, these big sites can come out and say this is bad for gamers, but the reason they're saying it's bad for gamers is because it's bad for them. Because they're not going to get the clicks on the day now, so they're not going to get the ad revenue. Like, yes, it's nice that they can shield it and say, oh, we're pro-gamer, and they probably do genuinely believe what they're saying, but don't think that there's not a business consideration for them too. They're likely going to lose money because they're not going to have a review day one, so they're not going to get the clicks. So, I'm not saying that they're necessarily wrong or that it's bad, but I think a lot of people seem to be siding with a lot of the game industry, with a lot of the quote-unquote press that's covering these things. And I just, I wonder, how quote-unquote pure are their intentions. I think that they do genuinely mean what they say, that they are trying to work and put the gamers' best needs forward. But I think that some people are forgetting the fact that they have a business need in there too, and that they are worried that if they don't have those reviews, that could potentially harm them from a business standpoint too. So, I think overall, I think it's kind of a net wash for the consumer. I think that if you were going to buy a game, probably a bad review wasn't going to probably change you too much. It might change you a little bit, but most of the times reviews don't, have a huge impact on whether or not people buy games. So overall, for the consumer, I don't think there's going to be a huge difference, but I think for Bethesda and maybe some of these bigger outlets, there is going to be a difference for them.
I agree. I didn't even consider that, honestly, when I was preparing what I was going to say about it. I wasn't looking at the industry point of view as far as the reviewers and what it means for them and their website. But yeah, you're right. It's funny because it won't phase the AAA titles at all because they don't need those reviews for exposure or anything like that. They're already out there. Everybody knows Skyrim's coming out. Everybody knows Dishonored's on its way out. Everybody knows like Call of Duty came out. Like those are the titles that don't need the reviews to to push units one way or another. Now, on the indie front, a lot of indie developers will still be handing out review codes like a week after the game came out. So they're not as much motivated by, let's get this out the day we launch this game. Like, they're just looking for exposure. And actually, they play more of the long game where they want to be talked about for longer, and then instead of just a day one media blitz. I mean, we looked at Pirate Pop Plus that I reviewed, I don't know, was it 2 weeks ago now on the 3DS? And the publisher like retweeted my review yesterday to keep talking about it because now the game just launched on Steam. So the indie devs kind of rely on this stuff a little bit more, I think, than the AAA titles do, simply because they want to just stay in the conversation at all. So something like releasing the review, the day before it comes out, releasing the review copy the day before it comes out, or even, a week or two afterwards, as we've gotten with some of the indie devs we've worked with, for them, that doesn't faze them at all because they're just looking to be talked about for as long as possible versus just day one. So that's intriguing. Let's go with Nathan. What do you think, sir?
It's an interesting decision that they've made. I personally think that Bethesda's games that they make, they're going to fall prey to what's happened with a lot of games where the sites just want to get the review out first. It's that internet commenting thing first. They want to have all the clicks and everything. And Bethesda's games like Skyrim or Fallout or anything like that, you can't play them in 24 hours and even honestly give it a fair review. You have to digest it. You have to, give yourself some time to ruminate on it and really think about, how you enjoy some of the things that they present to you. And, from people that are super excited about the game, that are going to buy it regardless, like you, Kevin. Let's be honest. If it was another Fallout game or something like that, you would be all on it.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to buy it regardless of the review. Whether they say it's a 5 or a 10, you're going to buy it, and you're going to enjoy it for what it is because you know what to expect from Bethesda. And, for companies like them to do it, that's established and has that base, it's not going to matter much. But they're going to set a precedence now because now you'll see other game companies be like, well, they do it and they're popular, so maybe we should do this too. But it'll backfire. And that'll be a company like Ubisoft. And they'll put out an Assassin's Creed game and, they'll say, oh, no review copies. And that's just a bad omen. Let's be honest. But it's interesting what they've decided to do here. And it is a business move, plain and simple. And I think that it's interesting when you have reviews out before a game comes out, or even right as they're available, you have a build-up from games media talking about it. They say, oh, yeah, I've been playing this game. My review will be, Tuesday, or my review will go up on Monday night at whatever time. And so they're advertising to their readership for the developer, for the publisher. So Bethesda, though, doesn't really need that advertisement because everybody knows when a new game of theirs comes out. And I think that I think it'll be fine for them. It's going to be what happens as this precedent goes on. And as someone who reads reviews and considers what they say, and I do like timely reviews. I like to look to see when a game comes out. I was like, oh yeah, Call of Duty comes out today. Let's check the review, see what it got. And you want to be able to really know what it got. Even if you're not going to go plan out and buy it, you just want to look and see what everybody's talking about, what the vibe is, to kind of take the pulse of the game. So it's going to be a more difficult process to take the pulse per se, but I think that it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. Ultimately, I think this will be a thing for a while, and it might revert back, especially when maybe another few years down the road where a new Fallout comes out or something, because it's going to be big, it's going to be huge. But at the same time, Bethesda controls the message. They control what content everybody sees. They'll be doing their promotion because people will still be paying attention to what they put out. They just won't have the critical response. And that's not to say that Bethesda or whoever, they are doing their own internal reviews on this game. They hire freelancers out to review this game for their personal use, to get their feedback and critical change and see what they could change about the game before it hits the masses in like a patch or something like that. So they'll still have those. You just won't see those as a consumer. So I think that they may have figured that we get enough value out of these internal reviews that we don't really necessarily need these other companies to do this until it's readily available for the consumer, because there could be an issue that the reviewer like IGN might have, but it is fixed by the time it gets to the consumer via patch. So just something to consider.
So based on what you said, is it fair to say that this is probably less of a concern, like as you said, with Bethesda, where you know what you're getting out of a Bethesda game, or a Blizzard, where you know what you're getting out of them, versus, let's say a Ubisoft or an EA, where some titles can be great and then some titles miss the mark completely? Do you think that's going to be a factor at all?
Definitely. Because, like I said, you'll have a company where they say, "Oh, hey, let's do the Bethesda model and let's just not give anybody review copies." Yeah, it's not going to work like you want it to. It'll backfire, because it's going to be one of those things where someone finally gets their copy of Assassin's Creed because they play every one of the franchise and it's just broken, and everybody is going to be heartbroken. That's a big fan of it. For day one, they can't even play a single-player campaign because it just doesn't work. They have to have a patch that comes out. Those are the type of things that we could see happening from this. And, I think that it's just an interesting move. I don't... Yeah. I can't think that the business difference is that great to make this kind of a statement or move in the industry. If anything, it turns the reviewers against you and casts that critical eye a little harder on your product next time. So
I can see that.
It's just one of those things where, be careful. You don't want to burn any bridges, and it seems to be like they're kind of burning them a little bit.
No, valid points. All right, Josh, your turn. What are your thoughts on the whole situation?
Okay, I'll try not to. Well, I'm probably going to cover some stuff you guys talked about, but I'm pretty passionate about this topic, and the obvious thing will get out of the way. This is not the model for indie companies at all. I think people know that. The thing that I find interesting about this is that Bethesda is leading the way, and they're a company that does not need to do this. Look at all the companies that are out there. Bethesda, they don't put out games every year. They take their time. They put in years before they release a game, and you don't really see poor quality products coming out of their camp. Like this is like a defensive statement that you would expect to come from like EA or Ubisoft. Like the thing that perplexes me about this is I want to take a game like, let's say, Assassin's Creed Unity. Take a game like that and imagine they sent out early review copies a week ahead of that release. That game, a week before it was released, wasn't the same game that you got the day you took it home and installed your 2,000 gigabyte, day one patch. It's silly to expect to get a review copy of an incomplete game, especially when the games are shipping incomplete. But the other problem with this is that obviously if Ubisoft sends you that game a week before it comes out, they're not going to make money. They want you to buy that game the day it comes out, so that whether the game gets a good review or not, they want to put that in the reviewer's hands so people can say, well, the game I played was great. This was working for this and this was working for that. But then the day it comes out, they could have, it's like watching a tech demo at E3. Like Killzone 3 does not look that good, and it never will. So it's hard to say like what you're even reviewing at that point. So I don't know. I have a tough time with this as a topic because I feel so like I'm like jaded on it. Like I'll use Recore as an example. I was really interested in picking up Recore, and they did the same thing. Reviewers didn't get copies until I think that day. I don't even think they sent out review copies. And I remember reading a review. It gave it like a 2 out of 10, and it was based on a guy playing it for 12 hours straight. How can you give a fair review to a game that you go out, you buy it, you take it home, and you're not going to enjoy the game. You just power through it.
You hate playing it.
Yeah, like why do you want to, like, obviously I won't read any more of those guys' reviews, and that goes right back to how I feel on, like what you said, you don't really read reviews, but if it's a game that I'm on the fence about, I'm going to go online to like GameRankings.com and look at the Metacritic scores and see where we're standing on games. So when it comes down to that aspect, I don't know if I'm playing devil's advocate or not, but I don't think that this is something that Bethesda needs to worry about. You know, I applaud them for saying that they're just going to send out a game the day before it launches. And they're right. They said the same thing I always say. If you're the type of person who follows someone's reviews or don't want to buy a game because they're unsure, they're absolutely right. Wait a week, wait 2 weeks, wait a month for a game like Skyrim. You don't want to buy it. Like, try to find a Destiny review that's complete for the first month the game was out. Because every review you can read about Destiny is about how bad it is because they don't get the full scope of the game. And it's just one of those situations where if you're going to buy a game like Skyrim, you already know you're going to buy it. You don't need to read reviews on it. Doom was a game people have been waiting for since Doom 3 on the PC, and that was fantastic. It's like if someone was like, hey, Kojima's going to do another Metal Gear, but we're not going to give you any info on it. How many, they'll sell out every single copy. I mean, assuming it's not with Konami, but we know that's not going to happen.
No, it makes sense, and I'm okay with this move. And what I hope people would do, like you said, judging somebody's review who powered through the game in 12 hours and kind of just pumped out this review and kind of crapped all over it. I'd rather have these people, if they can't get the game until like the day before, the day of, and they still want to have media out there early on, then do a first impressions piece. We've had a couple people on the staff do that. You don't want to wait. You want to get something out. Let's do an early impressions, but label it as that. And don't score it. Just say what you dig so far, what you're not into so far, and lay it out that way. Then say, my full review will follow. And then I think that's kind of probably the necessary evil of dealing with this if companies are going to start doing this, is start doing early impression pieces to whet people's appetites or to give them some more understanding with what the game is about without actually giving it that final stamp of 2 out of 10 or whatever it is. It seems a bit ridiculous.
Right. It's one of the basic reasons why Twitch is so successful and Let's Plays on YouTube. Like, people don't even read reviews that much anymore because they can go online and watch someone play a game for 15 minutes. I mean, the written word, I think, still holds a lot. Like, I did a first impressions for Battlefield 1. I mean, and you could go watch me play Battlefield 1 for half an hour, and you'll kind of get some sense of the game, but no one's going to be telling you how the controls felt, and that's still important when you look at it. But Bethesda's not a company that needs to start this revolution in game reviewing. It just doesn't make sense to me for them to send that statement out.
Fair enough. Nathan or Kyle, any final thoughts before we wrap up the subject?
Nathan, any thoughts?
Not really. I think I pretty much laid it out. I mean, I think it's an interesting move. We'll see how it plays out. It's a bold move, Cotton.
So I think that Bethesda is the company who came out and said this. There are other companies that already basically do this. The 2K doesn't really give out review copies early. They didn't for Mafia. They didn't for NBA 2K this year. They didn't for Civ 6. And if you look at quality of Mafia, it was fine. But like NBA 2K and Civ 6 are both great games, according to everyone who's played them, or most people who played them. So there are other companies who are doing this already. They're just not talking about it. They didn't do a press release about it. And I think that, it can be hard to not buy a game day one, But if you want to have an inkling about what a game is, just look at the preview coverage of it, right? So if you look at Mafia 3, the only really preview stuff we saw pre-rendered videos that were already from the game, and then we saw like the same section that was done as Let's Plays, that was like the same 20-minute section that like everyone had done, and that was pretty much all that was out there. So people felt like they saw a lot because they did all these 2 or 3 minute video clips from the game, but there really wasn't a lot of gameplay out there prior to the game being released. But look at other upcoming games. You know, people have played like the first 3 hours of, or have played like 3 hours of Watch Dogs 2. People have played 15 hours of Final Fantasy 15. So I think if you are worried, you can just look at the preview coverage and how much time are people getting to play with this game ahead of time? Because Bethesda very specifically said, this is about reviews. This isn't necessarily about previews. So you might still get a lot of information way before you ever see the review, and if you're a critical consumer, you still might be able to get the information you want without having to wait for a review.
I agree completely. So that wraps up our thoughts and opinions on reviews in the industry today. So, gentlemen, it's time we dove into some news.
This week in Play Some Video Game News.
Kyle, why don't you kick us off this week?
All right, so in news, this is going to be, I'll kind of rapid fire through this, but Ubisoft held their earnings call recently, and just a few interesting nuggets came out about that, or during that call. Watch Dogs 2, the pre-orders for that have not reached the levels that they were hoping for. They didn't discuss exactly what the gap was or how short that Watch Dogs 2 is in what they were hoping, but they said they were still very confident in the game, and they're hoping that once people get their hands on it, that sales will go well. Similar to Rainbow Six Siege, which started off a little slow and a little from what they were expecting, but actually has sold very, very well in recent months. So that's kind of what they're thinking there. Work is still continuing on the new Assassin's Creed. They wouldn't give any additional info other than to say, quote, the game will be launching, quote, when it's ready. It's a great game. I've seen it. It's looking good. The next installment is rumored to be set in Egypt and launch in 2017. The next Far Cry game, unsurprisingly, is also in development. Not much is known about it, the next installment, but what they did say is that the title is currently aiming for a 2017 release. However, with both Assassin's Creed and Far Cry, they were careful to state that their goal is to always now have a playable alpha 1 year before release. So, if that means they missed 2017, so be it. And the last little interesting tidbit from their call was that Ghost Recon Wildlands will be getting both closed and open betas leading up to the launch, which is currently slated for March 7th, 2017. First revealed at E3 2015, this open-world tactical shooter. They said they're utilizing these betas to help players fully grasp what the game is all about. So those are a few nuggets from Ubisoft's earnings call.
I can't wait to play that game. It looks incredible.
I keep forgetting about it. But yeah, it looks amazing though too. All right, then let's throw it to Josh. What do you got for
All right,
news?
I got two real quick things. I'm not going to touch BlizzCon. I don't know if someone else is going to do that. The Call of Duty had made a little bit of news where they released their VR mission for free for any PSVR customer. So all you have to do is be a member of PlayStation Network, and you can go download that Call of Duty PSVR game, story, mission, whatever you want to call it, tech demo. So I thought that was pretty cool of them to do that, so you don't actually have to own the new Call of Duty to play the demo of the new VR game for them. The other thing I wanted to cover real quick, which I kind of thought was funny, is that did you guys see what was going on with EA and their Twitter?
Very briefly, yes.
So EA is going to be probably looking for a new community manager or a social media manager. So on Monday, they started tweeting out some Battlefield posts for Battlefield 1 with hashtag just World War I things, and it was basically the equivalent of squad goals on pictures of soldiers in war with flamethrowers being shot at them and blimps exploding behind them. One is a picture of a guy getting torched, and it says, "When you're too hot for the club." So they got into a lot of trouble for that. And then just today, using Titanfall's tag using Titanfall's account, EA tweeted out a rip on Call of Duty, saying one is, quote, mostly slow and plotting, end quote, while the other's, quote, frantic precision and electrifying, close quote, you decide. And it was a link to the new Call of Duty Infinite Warfare as well, to which Respawn responded. For the record, Respawn is the official voice of Respawn Studios. We have nothing but respect and love for our fellow developers. So EA has been a little bit on the bully side this week, or the inappropriate side. So I thought it was pretty interesting that a company this big can still make big blunders on the gaming front.
No, they got to hold on to that most hated gaming company title.
Let's see what they do. If they ruin Mass Effect, they definitely will be the most hated gaming company.
That's true. That's true. So Nathan, you got anything?
Some brief things, quickly. There was a tweet today, as we record this, on, well, now it's November 5th? Yes.
Technically it is now.
No,
Still the fourth here.
That's right.
No, that's true.
But Phil Spencer tweeted out that the back compat list for November is looking quite good. He, quote, says, looks to be a great back compat month, landing some top fan requests. So looks like this month, November, will be some pretty good things added to backwards compatibility. So it's continuing to grow. Really good project or platform, you could call it. We touched on this earlier, but officially in the news section now, Forza Horizon 3 is getting winter. Yes, winter is coming to Forza Horizon 3. So looking forward to driving in the snow, as mentioned earlier. And this is November 5th, which means we are very close to Black Friday and Black Friday sales. Which, actually, in our group chat, this was a featured conversation piece a few days ago. It launched some interesting things from it. In fact, Kyle is the one who first told us about it.
Oh,
that's not even what I was going for either.
No, it's hilarious. So it's a great deal, so I wanted to bring it up because...
The pork loin at Save-A-Lot?
That's right.
The $8 off the... Okay.
But the... this is just one of the first deals that are kind of surfacing on Black Friday. It looks like it's going to be a great gaming month or gaming year for this, because you have the Xbox One S, the new Slim edition, including Battlefield 1 and Gears of War 4, and an extra controller, and it's the 500 gigabyte console for $249. You get 2 controllers, 2 games, $249. I mean, that's good. That's awesome.
But Nathan, why would I spend $250 for one game?
I said 2 games. There are 2 games in that.
Sorry, that's an
2 controllers.
Inside joke.
I know. But just I actually was also looking through this ad. There's some other stuff on here. You know, the people have talked about 4K, never getting a 4K TV. Dell has a 55-inch Samsung 4K TV on sale for $600 plus a $150 Dell gift card back to you. So I mean that effectively makes it, I don't know, we can't do math right now. $450 for that TV. So for 55-inch 4K TV, 4K is going to be pretty affordable this year, it seems. So it'll be a good year to get in some 4K gaming, some Blu-ray watching, some streaming. Just kind of getting the 4K on this year for sure. Other than that, I was looking desperately. I was really wanting to find some Star Wars news. So I'm going to make one up. Just announced, Amy Hennig's Star Wars game is coming in 2018. What?
Well, you could talk about how EA said that the next Battlefront is fall 2017.
Yeah, but we already knew that.
I know. I'm just trying to kind of reiterated it. That's nice, right?
I think it's funny that people think it's news.
I have Star Wars related news for you, Nathan. Then,
please.
Did you know next week is in fact Rhode Island Comic Con, which we will have in attendance this year. None other then Lando himself, Mr. Billy D. Williams, will be there.
Oh, wait, no. You cannot. You can no longer say none other than Lando himself,
Yeah,
Billy
Donald-
D. Williams.
that's-
All right, Donald Glover, but
Yep. But that's pretty good. I mean,
so who knows? I might get to meet him. We'll see.
you should go up to him and be like, "Hello, what have we here?"
No, I'm gonna go up and tell him how big of a fan I was of his from Dancing with the Stars,
boy.
and pretend I don't know him from anything else.
I saw you on what was that? Oh, what was that movie called? Oh, he was like a colonel that had chicken.
Oh boy,
Was
this
it
is dangerous.
Was it called Pootie Tang? Was it called Pootie Tang?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was pretty Tang.
She'd be like, "Man, I loved you in Pootie Tang," and just go up and like completely familiarize yourself with the movie and everything that he did in that movie, and just elaborate on it and just see what kind of response if you get a chance to talk to him.
Just make sure it's
That'd be
really him.
hilarious.
Make sure you IMDb that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'll just check first, otherwise I'll look even
You
weirder.
don't want to say Denzel Washington was great in The Matrix. You might get in trouble.
You remember, like, was it last year when some reporter mistook Lawrence Fisher for Sam Jackson?
Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson. And he kept saying I wasn't in that movie. I wasn't
in that movie. I'm the credit card guy, or something like that.
Yeah, it was the other way around. It was Sam Jackson.
Oh yeah, no, it was Samuel L. Jackson asking about him in the Matrix. That's what it
Or
was.
no, it was
the other way
something
around.
like that.
Yeah. All right, Kyle, save us. Please put us back on track with some more news.
So BlizzCon, is the weekend that we're recording this, and they talk about games like Heroes of the Storm and StarCraft and Diablo and Hearthstone, but I don't care about any of those games, so I'm just going to talk about what they talked about with Overwatch. So and also because this is only the stuff that is most likely actually to come to console. So for Overwatch, Sombra, the new hero, is officially revealed. She has been speculated and talked about for a very, very, very long time. Actually, most people thought she would be the first new hero revealed when Anna was revealed back in the day. But she is officially revealed. She actually will be in the PTR, or the public test realm, next week. On PC only, not on consoles yet. In addition to that, they announced a new map called Oasis, which will be hitting the PTR in December. And they also announced a new mode, which is arcade mode, that will have completely separate maps and allow for 1v1 and 3v3 games. And the first map that they revealed for that is a map called Echo Point. And arcade mode and Echo Point will also be entering the public test realm next week. So it looks like both of those could be probably playable in real life for folks probably in early December, which would be pretty fantastic. But the most interesting thing, I think, that was announced was the fact that Blizzard is forming what they're calling the Overwatch League. And this is kind of a blending of esports and traditional sports in a way we really haven't seen before. So teams are going to be based around major cities with owners bidding for the right to run teams. In early 2017, there's going to be basically a combine where people who are proven players, have played enough Overwatch and gotten to a certain skill ranking, are going to be invited and show what their skills are. And then after that, there's actually going to be a signing period that will take place. Once this is all done, players will sign a contract and they will receive a salary and benefits. So there's a minimum salary and benefits that every team owner has to provide to the players on their team. Teams then will play through a regular season with the top teams making the playoffs. So it's very, very interesting to see that they're really trying to make esports more similar to what we see in traditional sports, where teams are based in cities and that you can feel some sort of connection rather than like, hey, I really like TSM. Why? I don't know. I just do. This one streamer's kind of cool. Like, they're really trying to build, kind of cross these things over. So it'll be really interesting to see how this works. Most of it's kicking off, like I said, early next year. So though it's all going to be done on PC, I'm sure I will definitely be keeping a close eye on this, just because I'm very interested from a implementation standpoint. Is this the future of esports, or is this going to kind of crash and burn? I'm really interested to see how this works.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Kyle. So it's about time to close up the show, boys and girls. But before we leave, we're going to tell you about some things you should check out or where you can connect with us. And let's go with none other than Nathan first.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as mentioned before, this is currently November 5th, depending on what time zone you're in with recording. And I don't know when you're going to listen to this, probably after November 5th. But today is the actual day for Extra Life, where most people will be streaming their content. However, again, as mentioned, I am in a hotel in Atlanta, Georgia, because work. Anyway, my stream will be next week. My stream will be November 11th. And I just wanted to remind everybody one last time before the stream that this is a 24-hour gaming marathon that I will be participating in to raise money for the Children's Hospital of Illinois. That's my particular charity. And what we're doing is just raising money, playing games, and doing it for the kids. As much as I love games, 24 hours of it is a task.
Long time.
Yes.
Yep.
And it'll be streamed out on Twitch and possibly Beam if I can do both. But everybody uses Twitch, it seems, so that'll be the standby this year for sure. You can again follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/SpiderJedi for the stream. And I'm also on Beam, beam.pro/SpiderJedi. And if you would like to find out more about Extra Life or donate, it would be awesome if you would donate to the cause because, again, this money is going to help the kids. It's just going to be used for the betterment of their lives, and you can also, deduct it from your taxes, so go for that. extra-life.org/participant/NT, as in Nathan Thomas. So again, extra-life.org/participant/NT. Greatly appreciate you guys that have already had a chance to donate. And anybody who's still looking forward to doing it, please, this is the time. If you've been waiting for the right time, the time is now. So again, super excited to play games for the kids. And hey, you know what? It's gonna be here before I realize it. This is Saturday. We're recording on right now, Friday night, Saturday morning, whatever you want to look at it. And there's a lot of people starting to come on right now doing their Extra Life stream. I'm super excited. I got the vibe going already. And it's a great time of year when you can game for the kids. That's all I got to say about that right now. That's all I want to plug. Just Extra Life. Support it however you can. If you can donate, great. If you spread the word, great. If you can do your own stream, great. Just try to get involved somehow and help the kids.
Absolutely, and we'll have to throw something up on the site, Nathan, too, so anybody listening now can click through playsomevideogames.com and get over to your Extra Life page to follow your endeavor as well. So be sure to do that. Josh, what do you want to plug, or where can people find you?
Well, let's see. Let's plug some playsomevideogames.com. Might as well. You guys can find me at Josh Bones on Twitter and Instagram. Nothing too exciting on my end. Remember the 5th of November, I can tell you that. Happy Guy Fawkes Day.
Fair.
But that's about it.
Yeah, right.
Everything else, plugging away on the site, trying to get as involved as I can, and glad to be a part of. This is my official PSVG non-board game podcast, so it's just great to be on and chatting with you guys.
No, we are happy to have you. Kyle, sir, what would you like to plug?
So you can follow me on Twitter or on the PSN. We can become friends at both places. It's at Psychocross, CYCOCROSS. Looking forward to doing our next board game podcast with Josh because we have ideas brewing, and I think you're gonna love them. They're gonna be fantastic. In addition to that, I'm not gonna say anything other than if you're in the United States, you're probably getting this before Tuesday. You should vote. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for or what to do there. Just make sure you're doing your civic duty. Getting out there and punching your little dots or filling in your little ovals or however your state does it. Make sure you're doing that on Tuesday because that's important. And read a book. Reading is important. Find a book to read. Read it. Enjoy it. Have fun with it. Those are my plugs for the week.
Okay, if I got a quick one that I forgot.
Yeah, go right ahead.
You can get me on Xbox Live at Why So Serious. Spelled out like Sirius Black, not intentionally. So, SIRRIUS.
So not intentionally meaning you legitimately misspelled Sirius?
I wanted to get Why So Serious correctly, but at the time, only Sirius Radio is the only other way to spell Sirius. So I used that. There was no Sirius Black in my mind yet.
Fair enough. So, as Josh and Kyle had mentioned, I think everybody mentioned at some point leading up to this, make sure you check us out on the website, playsomevideogames.com. We have some new reviews up. Josh decided not to plug it at the end, so I'll do it for him. His review of Ginger Beyond the Crystal on Xbox One is up there on the site, as well as newcomer Jared has released his second PC review for Breach that just launched today. And if you're listening to this podcast, but you didn't hear Kyle and I wax on for about an hour on JazzPunk, go back and download episode 42 of Play Some Video Games, where we discuss the insanity that is JazzPunk, and you'll find out just why Josh decided to go ahead and buy it. And maybe he'll update us on that later another time. You can also email us, of course, anytime at podcast@playsomevideogames.com. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at PSVG. You can follow me personally if you choose to at PSVG Kevin. I'm not on there too often, but if you tweet at me, I will interact with you. Make sure to like us on Facebook, facebook.com/playsomevideogames. And breaking news, guys, I don't even think you guys know about it on the podcast. We officially have enough followers that we have our own branded YouTube page now. So you can go to youtube.com/playsomevideogames and you will actually find us that way now.
Whoa!
So if you're not already subscribing, which, I mean, come on, clearly all the cool kids already are, you can go ahead and follow us right there. So youtube.com/playsomevideogames is now ours as well. So as we mentioned before, we're not really sure why you'd want to subject your friends to this, but please continue to subject them to it. And if you get a couple minutes, make sure to drop us some reviews on iTunes. Now that we got that YouTube page, we're going to focus on getting some more iTunes reviews. So if you like us, leave a review. If you don't
leave one.
Don't leave us a review. No, we accept all criticism, and as long as it's constructive here. But, as always...
Wait!
Ladies and gentlemen... Oh,
Breaking news. Actually, this isn't breaking news. But this was announced today, I think, or just recently. And this is not gaming related. This is the wrap up, right? This is just something that I found that I wanted to share with the world because it makes me very happy and very excited for November 12th.
The day after my birthday?
You know what's happening November 12th?
Oh,
the day after your birthday?
I do. What's happening? I just heard about it today.
Dave Chappelle is hosting Saturday Night Live.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
Dude, I loved Chappelle's show, and I'm super excited to see him back on the scene with SNL hosting. So the day after my extra life, you can celebrate, and after you donate, you can watch Dave Chappelle. Chappelle show.
There you go.
Chappelle show.
That sounds like a weekend. So, as we know, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cocaine is a hell of a drug. So don't do that. So never do that. Never do cocaine. But never stop gaming.
Thank you for listening to Play Some Video Games, the official podcast.